Huh. Hey guys, it's the Gundam Boy, and today we're going to be taking a look at the HMG. Especially now that I'm done showing Iguazu why he's a side character. And if you're a new player and you're looking to unlock this weapon, you can unlock it at level 12 for 6,000 requisition slips. Looking at its stats more closely, we can see this weapon does 150 ballistic damage per bullet, and has a max penetration of 4, with capacity of 100 and 3 different fire rates. You get 2 spare magazines with this weapon, and every time you refill at the supply box, you get 2 magazines back, with an ammo box refill of 1. And the durable damage on this weapon is pretty low, so be wary if you're gonna go up against enemies that are harder on the armor. And durable damage is kinda like the real damage you'll be doing to certain enemies, and it requires a lot of math, and I fucking hate math, but I love you guys, so I'm gonna do the math anyways. A good example of this would be the War Strider, as the HMG struggles because that has a lot of durable armored points, but with the best option to take down one of these guys with your HMG would be to aim at his leg or his hip joint. Now that we know both armored points have a durability of 80, we can calculate the actual damage it takes to kill them. The durability of the part you're aiming for, multiply it by the durability damage of your weapon, then you multiply the remaining percentage by the weapon's base damage, then you should get 28 plus 30, you add that together, you get 58, and since you're shooting a part that has the same penetration as your armor, you have to multiply that by 65, which should give you 37.7 something blah blah blah, but we don't count the extra decimal. So we can actually find out it takes 40 bullets to kill him in the leg, and 20 bullets to kill him in the hip joint. And since his cock is 100% durable, it means you'll be doing 22 damage, or about 81 bullet. So yeah, it's not exactly a heavy hunter. You can try and use it to kill heavies, but have you ever tried to kill a cow with a butter knife? And another thing you should know about this weapon is that its ergonomics are... Yeah, the ergonomics is kinda bad. Like, 0 bad. So you'll have to keep in mind that when it comes to chasing some enemies with this gun, it can be a little slow. Despite this weapon's cons, it is no pushover once you start ripping that HMG. In fact, there is a few armor sets that pair well with the HMG, so let's take a quick look at them. If the drag of the weapon is your problem, then let me show you Peak Physique, as this armor set provides an extra 30 ergonomics, allowing you to really keep up with the smaller enemies without this weapon kinda dragging behind, which is a perfect option for both the bug and the illuminate front. If the recoil is your problem, then you can use something like Fortified or Engineering Kit to help reduce that recoil when going crouch or prone. I personally like using this on the bot front specifically to land my shots more precisely, because depending on your stance and your fire rate, you can actually fire this weapon while walking or crouching. So you can have overall better ergonomics or better recoil control, or you can have siege ready. Especially because Siege Ready gives you an extra magazine to give you more DACA. So let's take a look at how it fares on the bug front. Anything that's in the lesser chaff category is a coughing scavenger versus nuclear bomb situation, as the HMG will just punch a hole right through them all. But if you're not using Peak Physique, it can struggle with hunters as they strafe around you. I'll have to say I do love the HMG for being able to counter Bile Spears pretty easily, especially because their main attack method is barfing on you, which means they gotta point that delicious head at you, meaning that no matter what angle that they're facing you, the HMG can really punch a hole in them. In fact, against both of the greater chaff, and yes, I don't have an Alpha Bird commander, but against them, it is a pretty solid option to pick them all off. In fact, it's a pretty good option against things like stalkers as well, as you could just mow them down. Well, assuming you see them before they get you. If you're gonna use this weapon, especially for hunting the lesser chaff and greater chaff enemies, I would recommend a supply pack to kind of keep you pumping, because you can run out of ammo really quickly. But how does it fare against the heavier enemies? I would recommend if you're in a head-on against a behemoth charger that you would aim for his leg. As long as you can take that leg out, you can take him down relatively quick. It's a great option for killing them in a one-on-one, but in high-level difficulties where there's multiple chargers on the field, this weapon requires a lot of focus to kill a charger. Going up against the Impaler, it fares way better, but that's because the Impaler opens up this giant weak point on the front of his head. Sure, you can kill him like a charger and shoot the leg armor off, but it's much easier to aim for the crown as soon as he's aggroed. And yes, you can kill a Bile Titan, but considering how fast it actually is, it really isn't worth the ammo and time spent to try and drop him, especially as he lingers over to curb stomp you. But if you really have to kill him with an HMG, aim for his gut so he can't spit on you anymore, which gives you one less thing to worry about having to dodge. He died like, oh great heavens! The only thing the HMG struggles against on the bug front is high amounts of chargers and Bile Titans, so I'd recommend bringing red stratagems or thermites to help carry this weapon. Moving over to the bot front, where I have to say, the HMG has no problem killing the lesser chaff and greater chaff. And no, I'm not talking about the troopers, they die when a feather touches them. Against things like Devastators, the HMG is just an absolute beast in terms of punching holes through people. Constellations where there's a bunch of Berserkers and Devastators running around, the HMG will put them all down. Especially in missions where I've come across large numbers of Scout Striders, when I had the HMG, it was a pretty smooth mission. And Hulks aren't safe either, as the HMG is pretty capable of taking them down with a few bullets to the eye. Even if you go for body shots on the Hulk, you can still take it down in at least 34 bullets. This Hulk wouldn't stay still for the demonstration, so I decided to take both his legs and his arms so that he can stay here forever, contemplating why he couldn't stand still. The math says you should be able to kill him at least 3 or 4 shots shots, but it kinda increases when the gun recoil hits this hard. But it makes it a pretty good and consistent Hulk Slayer. But like previously noted, against the new War Strider enemy, the HMG has found the new block, especially when the only viable weak points require a lot of ammo. And add up the fact that you can come across at least 3 War Striders in a firefight. If you're by yourself with the HMG, you're gonna be caught lacking hella hard. If it's a one-on-one and you're up close, you'll win, but against like 5 of them, you'll be ragdolled around. Well, I will have to say the Factory Strider definitely is bigger and more armored in comparison to a War Strider. They're not nearly as hard to kill off if you have to fight them by yourself, as you can just take down their chin guns, and they have no way to really hurt you once you're below that top turret. Sure, you can shoot him in the eye, but it does have matching armor pen and a lot of durability, so I'd recommend aiming for the stomach, because at least you don't have to take that 65% damage drop. Insert cow getting stabbed by butter knife. You can also kill gunships relatively easily as long as you can lead your shots, and any variant of the automaton tank is very easy to take down as long as you can get behind them, or just, you know, call a stratagem on them and blow them up. But overall, on the bot front, the HMG works pretty damn well, especially if you're playing in a team dynamic where they can cover you against War Striders and Factory Striders. Going up against the elite units is not really this weapon's motto, but it can absolutely shred everybody else. Moving over to the Illuminate front, where I'd have to say it performs alright. Yes, the HMG can punch through every enemy that's here on the front, but the HMG has less ammo in comparison to things like the machine gun and the Stalwart. Especially when the most common enemy you'll see on this front is going to be the Voltless, and they spawn in high numbers, which means you're going to be going through a lot of your ammo. Against the grounded versions of Overseers, this HMG will have no problem punching through their armor and just murking them. Against elevated Overseers, the HMG can struggle with chasing after them, especially if you're not using peak physique. The hefty ergonomics makes it really difficult to hunt down elevated Overseers, especially when you're going up against the flesh mobs, as these guys are pretty tanky with 6,000 HP. You'll have to go through a fair amount of your ammo before you can actually drop one of these guys, and even then, there's like 3 more around the corner. If you're trying to kill them primarily with the HMG, it is gonna take a lot of commitment to drop them. I personally wouldn't recommend it unless you have a supply pack, but otherwise you'll be chewing through a lot of your ammo. Against the Harvesters though, it's a completely different story, as the HMG can completely shred these guys if you aim for their hip joint, or even if you aim for his eye, as there's only 350 HP on his eye to take him down, though this is gonna be a harder target to hit if you're in a crazy firefight. But that is the end of my video. What do you guys personally think about the HMG? Did I do it justice when I was covering, or did I completely fuck this video? But be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Also, holy shit, ODST armor.